Hey everybody, my name is Will Myers.
And my name is Alex Tulos. We want to thank you for watching today's episode. This is the Success Podcast where we change your life.
To your success.
Thank you so much. Please enjoy. This man worked for Tony Robbins for over 12 years, has done over 3,000 sales presentations on behalf of Tony Robbins, has probably spoken to more than 250,000 people across the world, the largest audience being 14,000 people, which in my mind is totally mind-blowing. Spoke at the United Nations on the topic of personal development and making a difference, has been on Good Morning America twice. Quincy Jones, of all people, presented him a Heroes Award, has fed over 400,000 homeless kids across America, has lost more money in real estate than most people have made in their entire life, and has built and sold over a $100 million business. His name is Scott Sullivan, and this man is a true game changer. I could not be more excited to have you on here, brother.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate it, Brandon.
One of the things I want to talk a little bit about is how you got started with Tony, and then once you worked with him for a little while, how did you two, like your mindsets kind of connect? What was the thing that really attracted you and then that you really clicked on?
I think what got me to a seat at the table with Tony was preparation. And it was preparation, not knowing a huge opportunity was coming my way. Those pieces got me interested in learning from role models. Like Jim Rohn was one of the first role models because I started learning from him back in the day. I became a student of the game and studying success and learning. And I started, when we traveled and doing financial presentations, I was fascinated at presentations. Like a guy could stand in front of a room and speak to an audience of 200, 300, 900 people. And within an hour, you could move them. You could educate them and move them to action and facilitate something that was really powerful. It was financial education for them. So that was a fascinating piece for me. So I became a student of watching how they did that. No one ever taught me. There wasn't a formal education for that, but learning and studying it and just going and asking, wow, I wonder what that would be like, to kind of be that guy. So studying those pieces prior to being introduced to the Robbins family, I think that preparation is what allowed me to take advantage of the opportunity. So for me, it was a moment. It was a moment in time when at our program, we had an oversell audience, which about 300 people couldn't get into the main room. And we had a big row of tables that were our tables that we had used for our registration. So those tables were empty after registration, of course, and that used to become a product table at the end of the 90-minute seminar. So that was about a 30-foot row of tables, and 300 people could not get into the main room. So there was this low voice that just showed up in the moment that said, Scott, get on that table and deliver the presentation. Never knowing that all of a sudden at 23, I was going to have a chance to jump on a table, or row of tables, and do a presentation to 300 people.
And you had never done anything.
And I'd never done anything like that in my life, but it would work. So I did a 35 or 40-minute presentation. I actually did more product sales than the guy in the main room did. And Tony's right-hand man happened to be in that audience that evening.
In the audience.
In the audience of 300, standing in the hallway of like the Hilton, watching me walk up in the hallway, watching me walk up and down a table, wearing only blue suit I owned and one white shirt and one red tie that probably had food stains on it.
I wish we had a video of that presentation.
I wish they had the internet back then.
I wish they had the internet back then. What year was this again?
This was 92.
1992.
Yeah, his right-hand man had come to watch how we fill audiences because Tony was in town. Again, opportunity, right? When destiny and opportunity meet. It was destiny that Tony was in Chicago. He was doing a one-day business seminar the very next day. He comes up to me after I'm walking up and down these tables and he's like, wow, young man, you did great. We want to hire you. You get to come work for Tony Robbins, which tells this audience, if you have a chance to learn presentation skills, if you have an opportunity to be in front of a room, you need to be that person because that's how you not only influence people in the room, that's how you get seen. That's how people want to become around you. That's how you get asked and invited to groups, conferences, masterminds. They like to see that. So make sure that you add that to your brick of business when you're building your career to get in front of a room. You got to make the decision to get around those people and do whatever it takes. So today, if you're listening, invest in yourself would be the first and primary thing. And get around people that are investing in themselves. Get around mini conferences. Do things on the weekend instead of sleeping in on Saturday or going swimming. Go get in front of an audience. Go get in front of a crowd. Go spend a Tuesday night standing and watching somebody present. Go do that. You go, I don't have any money. You don't need money. You got you, baby. You got you. And let's build that resource bank account so when that moment of resourcefulness shows up, you got something to draw from. My other friends went and got jobs and they had good base pays, and they had a lot. They had all that upfront promise, which I thought was great. But I'm like, I'm not really about the instant gratification of the next 2 or 3 months. I'd rather bite the bullet. I'd rather sink my teeth in. I'd rather sacrifice. I'm gonna sell out on the short term to get the big terms. If you'll do things in the first 5 years financially that most people won't do, you can have for the rest of your life everything that they can't have.
Wow.
So he taught me that. So when I got around Tony, I went, 5 years. I said, if I can do this for 5 years and what I can learn and who I can become was the reason. Because after about 5.5 years of working with Tony, as I went back to Baton Rouge, and my brother was part of my business partner, we're 50-50 partners, that built our business in the oil and gas industry from a startup business, which was 1,400 square foot building and 4 employees. So that's a very modest start. 7 years later, we were in a 14,000 square foot building that we built, 75 employees, and gross revenue had exceeded over $100 million. By the time I was 31, I was a self-made multi-millionaire.
31.
Because 31. Because 30 was a millionaire, but 31 I was a multi.
But you had just sold your company that year or the year before that?
We had sold it, yes. We were getting distributions, but we had a $3.25 million day. It's a pretty good day.
It's a fun day.
Tell us about that, because you got. I remember you told me this. You got a phone call from someone that they were wiring you.
We'd sold the business, and they were paying it out over like an 18-month period. We sold the business for just under $14 million, which is great. And we were. My brother and I were 50-50 partners, so you can do the math. So it was time for the final distribution. I can remember where I was at. I was in San Diego, and I was driving down the road. I can literally tell you
Do you ever
where I was.
forget where you were?
When someone calls you on the phone and says, Mr. Sullivan, we need to wire $3.25 million to your account, which bank account do you want us to wire it to? You know, you kind of like pull over on the side of the road, and you're like, oh my gosh. So that 90-minute sacrifice or 1 hour sacrifice you do 3 or 4 times a week pales in comparison. I mean, how great is it to know that when you're 30, you'll have $1 million? You know, that's a great, damn good feeling. Don't worry about, I don't have it today. No, you don't. You got to start somewhere.
Right.
And you're gonna get to 30.
And I'd make the decisions based on what my legacy is going to look like
later.
And you brought up another point about the investing part, invest in you. I think that was a huge point. In the 90s, in the early 2000s, even in the 80s, the savings accounts used to pay 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12%. Like they used to pay 10% a year. So if you had $100,000 sitting in an account, you would make $10,000 at the end of the year. Most people nowadays, they're trained, money does not make you money in the bank. You're making less than 0.00012%. So what Scott was saying is take some of that money and invest it into a conference that you need to go to. Invest it to meeting people that you need to go see. Even if you have to go pay for a flight in a hotel to go see Tony Robbins live on stage to get third or fourth row, like that money was going to sit there in an account and it wasn't going to do anything else. You don't have it. People think, well, I don't want to spend the $3,000 or $4,000. Dude, $3,000 or $4,000 isn't a lot of money.
And a quick example on that is I met a guy named Dolph DeRoos who became my real estate mentor. He was very sincere. And he kind of chuckled and laughed. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, I want you to mentor me. You know things that can compress 10 years for me into like something I can do in 10 months. What has to happen? I didn't ask him yes or no. I said, what has to happen in order for you to mentor me? And he says, let me think about it. So I gave him a couple days and I called him and he goes, Scott, it's $30,000. And I said, yes. I just dug my heels in and I started doing exactly what he was doing. And a year later, I had $1 million from a $30,000 investment. And that's what helped build my $10 million plus real estate portfolio that year.
Well, you go back to the first time you were standing on the table. You presented. Tony Robbins, the guy, offered you the job. You know, all that shook out, and then you get into the job. Your first ever presentation by yourself. I think Denver, Colorado.
Correct. So my first speaking opportunity, and again, I haven't never been a public speaker. I was just discovered walking up and down that table by Tony's right-hand man. So the promise was fly to San Diego, start work for 2 weeks, and then we'll put you on the road. I was living in Orlando, Florida. Flew to put everything in storage in my suitcase. Flew to San Diego. Take a cab, didn't have Uber. Take a cab to the main office. Go to the sales manager's office. Literally walk in with my one suitcase and said, "Hey, I'm here." He goes, "Oh, hey, how you doing? How was your flight?" I went, "Fantastic." He goes, "Great." And he hands me a plane ticket. Literally just hands me a plane. I said, "What's this?" He goes, "This is your plane ticket to Denver, Colorado." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "You better hurry. The plane leaves in 3 hours." I said, "Whoa. Where's my 2 weeks training?" He said, in the flight, he goes, "Well, things changed while you were in the air. Things changed." So I'm like, no, I need my training. I need a 2 weeks training. He goes, "No, you don't. You'll be fine. Everything's okay. Just fly to Denver. they'll spend some time over there. They'll coach you. They'll train you. They'll teach you what to say. You can actually ride shotgun with some of those guys for several weeks and watch what they say and watch what they do. And oh, sounds good to me. Jump back the same day, get on a plane, fly to Denver, Colorado. Land is like 11:30, 11:45 at night. Sales manager picks me up in his car, brings me back to the corporate apartments and says, okay, here's your presentation. I said, okay, what is it? He said, well, first you have an appointment tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I say, excuse me? He goes, you have an appointment tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I said, well, who's going with me? He goes, nobody. He goes, we have an overflow appointment, so you've got to go present. I said, I don't know what to say. He goes, oh, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So I'm like, I said, you don't understand. I don't know how to do this. And he grabs a piece of paper, and he draws a big smiley face on a circle, and he goes, there's 4 things you have to remember. He goes, he writes, it's like a mind map. And he writes intro. Introduce yourself. Tell them a little about where you're from. Tell them that you've read Tony's book. Tell them something about who you are. I said, yeah, you saw Tony speak at it. Well, I saw a half day. I saw like Tony speak for like 3 hours. He goes, let's talk about Tony. So talk about Tony Robbins. 3rd point, teach a skill. I said, teach a skill. I'm like, okay, what skill? He goes, which one do you want to teach? I'm like, I've not done this before. This is literally at midnight. I have an appointment at 9 a.m.
Oh my God.
And we're in Denver, Colorado, and he goes, I don't know, how about rapport? And he writes the word rapport on the piece of paper, and I'm like, rapport. And he goes, yeah, teach rapport. I said, how do I learn about that? He goes, just kind of glance back through some of your notes. I said, my notes are in my suitcase. I said, and I'm asleep on the couch. And then he draws another circle, and then he says, close, the word close, like, okay. And I said, what's that? He goes, tell them the day the seminar is going to be, tell them where it's going to be at, tell them all that stuff, and then you tell them the price of the seminar. And then he writes GTM. I'm like, what's GTM? He goes, get the money. And I was like, how do you do that? Tell them to fill it all out and put their credit card number on it. You'll do fine. Good luck. So I got up the next morning. They're up at 5:30. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And all these guys are running around. I'm the new guy. I mean, I'm the rookie, so no one's paying me any attention. They're all kind of doing their thing. I'm going, what am I supposed to say? And I'm running around, and they're like, oh, kid, you'll be fine. You'll do great. I'm like, oh my God. So they hand you a handful of quarters. So that was a payphone. So if you got lost, you could stop at a payphone to figure out where the address was. It was at a real estate company that was about 90 minutes north of Denver. So I walk up to the real estate office, and I go in, and the secretary goes, can I help you? I said, I'm here to present for your sales meeting. It was Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. She goes, for what? I said, I'm your presenter for your sales meeting today. She goes, we don't have a presenter today. And I went, oh yeah, I'm from Tony. I thought people knew. I'm from Tony Robbins. I mean, there's a preset appointment. She goes, we don't have a preset appointment. So I was like, where are they at? And she points me down the hall. So I just grab my TV and my briefcase, and I walk into this little conference room, and I set myself down, and they had probably, I don't know, Alex, they probably had, let's say there were 20 people. And this was back in the early 90s. So walk into the room, the guy's sitting in the front of the room on a podium, and he's smoking, the manager's smoking a cigarette while he's presenting to the realtors. And there's seats for 40 people, but there's only like 20, so they're scattered, and half of them are smoking, the other one's eating donuts in the meeting. And I walk in the back of the room, I'm 22, 23, I mean, I look like I was 12. And I walk in, the guy looks at me, and I kind of waved, and he just kind of kept talking, going through the normal real estate jargon that they go through. So I kept waving, and he's winding down the meeting. So I just went, bye. So I got up, walked to the front of the room, put my arm around him, and went, hi, my name's Scott. I'm your presenter for today. And he looks at me as he puts his cigarette, and he goes, who the hell are you? I said, my name is Scott. I'm from Tony Robbins. I'm the presenter today. He goes, I don't have any clue who the hell you are. I said, that's okay. I put my hand around his shoulder, and I walked him over to the front row chair, and I sat him down. I said, just sit there. And I walked back to the podium, and I told everybody, I said, hello, everybody. My name is Scott Sullivan. I'm the presenter today from Tony Robbins. And then I went to the back of the room to grab my TV because it was in the back of the room. So I went and grabbed my TV and the VCR tape, and I sat up on the side of the desk next to the podium and helped Tony's book, Unlimited Power. I said, how many people have ever heard of Tony Robbins and Unlimited Power? Crickets. Nobody. I went, that's okay. I said, he is, I just did my little 90-second elevator pitch, peak performance guy, and I'm like, here, you'll probably recognize him when I play this quick video for you. So I'm pushing the tape, and I'm sitting there, I'm sweating bullets. I'm thinking, God, I hope the video's good. I hadn't seen it. I didn't even know it was. I'm like, God, I hope the video's good. So I put it in again. It's a clip from Tony just being on stage presenting, and that thing, and I think it's running 8-9 minutes. I don't know. They didn't really tell me. They just said, run the tape, and then hit eject and then do your thing. And I told them, with every cell in my body, I was convinced, if you come to this program, it'll change your life. And from that audience, I think it was either 6 or 7 people actually purchased tickets, gave me the money in the moment, wrote their stupid credit card numbers down on the tickets. And this whole thing actually ended up being a joke. Like, they threw me under the bus on purpose. This meeting was not set up by corporate. Nobody knew I was coming, so they did it as kind of like a cool dodge. So no matter where you're at and where start, you don't need any formal pieces. You just got to believe in what you're talking about, and they will believe in you.
And then the largest crowd that you spoke in front of was 14,000.
Did 14,000 people, Dallas, Texas, American Airlines back in 2015.
14,000 people.
14,000. It was a sellout audience. American Airlines. Center. It was in the round. I'd never spoken in the round. That's very.
In the round.
It's in the round. It's in the round. You're in this full circle. And again, the deal was I'd been on tour with this company it's called Get Motivated Seminars. They had people like Barbara Bush. They had Terry Bradshaw. They had Troy Aikman. They had Colin Powell. Zig Ziglar. Yeah. They had all that kind of. It was an audience of a multi-speaker event, and they had one speaker that canceled at the last minute. We're looking for someone to stand on that stage to fill that type of time slot. And I volunteered, and I said, look, I want this shot. I want this slot. So I told him, I said, here's the deal. If I don't get a standing ovation, you don't have to pay me, because I wanted the dollar amount that I got paid for the time slot. And he looked at me and he called me kid. He goes, kid? He goes, no one can do that. That's impossible. I said, then great, you don't have anything to risk. If I don't get a standing ovation, you don't have to pay me. And he goes, no one has ever tried to put up that kind of guarantee before. I said, great, I will deliver on this. And I got my standing ovation, and I got paid.
Wow.
Gosh. But it's the same
But man,
mentality.
it was scary, dude. Boy, it was scary.
Oh, I bet.
Walk out on stage. They got these 20-foot screens. They're 20-foot, 40-foot screens.
Jumbo screens.
And you got there's 9 of them, and there's your faces and you're like, oh, and you're like, and your butt puckers, and you're like, what are bam. So everybody goes, what's the key to that presentation? And the key to that presentation, which was true, which I got from my mentors, they said, know your first 5 minutes.
I don't even know how to segue to this. We're just going to do it. Remember that time you were flying Tony Robbins' helicopter?
I do.
So you had worked for Tony Robbins for a long time.
No, not even that long. Oh, this is back when Tony Robbins still flew commercial. Tony had just done an event called Date with Destiny back in Tampa, Florida, and we were flying from Tampa to Los Angeles, then Los Angeles to San Diego. So we get on, I don't know, American Airlines, Delta, something, and we were flying to Los Angeles. So Tony's up in first class. I literally got on my hands and knees, went through the curtains, and I crawled up next to Tony. He was sitting in his chair writing his journal. I promise you, he was on my left-hand side. I walked up there, and he was journaling, and I crawled up and I went, hi. And he's like, and he looks down at me, and he goes, can I help you? And I said, man, I got some ideas on how we can do some stuff with the sales team. I got some really good pieces that I think you'd really appreciate. So I gave him 2 or 3 quick bullets. He goes, talk to me when we land. We're off the plane, and of course he's going out because he's in first class, and he takes off. So I ran up next to him, and he goes, yep, I remember. And he goes, can you talk and walk? I went, absolutely. He grabs his luggage, and we're walking through the airport. I don't know where we're going. And he's like, talk to me. And I'm talking, I'm giving him some of my ideas, and he's nodding, he's going, okay, and what about this? And what do you think about this? And we were doing this as we're walking out of the airport. And we went to the helicopter pad at LAX. 15 helicopters on it. I mean, it's very spread, it's very, very big. So there's a cinder block wall, so you can't just walk onto the helicopter pad, and there's a big gray door with a little window. And he gets to the door, and the door's locked, and he's looking through the little window, and he's like, there's my damn helicopter. There's my helicopter. Like, okay, and the door's locked. So he looks at me and he goes, toss me over. I'm like, the wall? He goes, yeah, throw me over the wall. So I'm like, how do I do that? He goes, cup your hand like this, and he goes, I'm like, okay, and he goes, ready? And like, he's got a size 16 shoe. I'm like, I think so. So I'm like, go. And he weighs like 270, but it felt like 400 pounds. So I'm heaving Tony over the wall. He climbs over the wall, hear him drop down the other side of the wall, and he opens the door and goes, let's go. So I've got his luggage, I open the door, and we walk into the helicopter pad, and he's walking 90 miles an hour. We shut the luggage department piece, and I said, okay, I'll finish talking to you later. He goes, no, get in. I said, get in? He told his son, it's a 4-seater, to get in the back seat.
Oh, wow.
He goes, he told his son to get in the back seat, and me and him got in the co-pilot seat of the helicopter. And I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe this is happening to me. He was sitting here, and I was sitting to the right. So he starts turning on the helicopter. We put the headset on, and he's doing these buttons. Next thing you know, it's like this thing takes off, and he takes off over the Pacific Ocean. He runs up to like 200 feet. And he's talking to people, and it's a gorgeous view. It's a beautiful day in Southern California. And Tony's flying, he would come about 50, 60 feet above the ocean, and as the waves would crash, he would act like he was banking off the waves above the surfers, headed towards the coast, and then he would buzz the mansions on the side of the cliffs. He would buzz them, like literally like within 50, 100 feet.
Wow.
Taking off. So we're cruising down south, and everything is just magnificent. I'm like, holy mackerel. So he comes offshore probably 300 yards. We go up to 200 feet. He says, okay, Scott, remember that checklist we talked about? I said, yeah. He goes, you got to do the same thing every time. I said, okay. He goes, grab the stick, because there are sticks in front of each seat. So I'm like, what? He goes, grab the stick. I said, I don't know how to fly. He goes, just grab it. So I grabbed it. He said, now, here's what you remember. You only use one hand. I said, okay. And he goes, how this works is you only think about flying the helicopter forward or backwards or left or right. You don't push it forward like a joystick. You only think about it because it's very sensitive. And he reaches over, he flips a switch, folds his arms, and says, great, now you're flying the helicopter. He goes, remember what I told you? Only think about where you want to go, and the helicopter will respond. So in about 20, 30 seconds, he leans over and says, Scott, the helicopter is flying at a negative rate, which is the tail is lower than the front. He said, so you need to level us back out. So when he said level us back out, I instinctively and haphazardly pushed the joystick forward. But the joystick only went forward about a quarter, half inch. But it took the angle of the helicopter from the tail and being below to like the nose pointing down. And we went from 220 feet, and we start screaming towards the ocean in a nosedive. He reaches over, he flips the switch, grabs his hand, and goes, I got it from here. We landed in San Diego, and his assistant had driven up, and this is back when Tony owned the castle. So he had just gotten a brand new 850 BMW that they had given him. So we all pile into his 850, and the windows are rolled down. He goes, get in the passenger seat. I didn't get in the back seat, I got in the passenger seat. He made his son and his assistant get in the back seat of the 850. And he takes off, and of course, vintage Tony Robbins. He jumps on the interstate, goes to the outside lane, and puts it on the floor.
Tony Robbins
puts it on the floor, and I'm like, boom! And this 850 takes off like a bolt of lightning, and it's screaming. And he reaches over and he elbows me, and he goes, watch it. And when he gets to 100, the windows automatically go up. And at 100, the windows rolled up. He goes, ain't that cool?
Oh my gosh!
So we got to the castle that day, and we had asparagus sandwiches together.
Oh wow!
I didn't know I could eat asparagus sandwiches.
Have you eaten one
don't
since?
ever tell Tony Robbins no. Go, Scott, you gonna eat some? How many asparagus sandwiches do you want? I went 2. He goes, okay, good, because I'll have 4.